When one thinks of gangsters or mob bosses, people's thoughts inevitably go to one of the most infamous criminals in American history, Al Scarface Capone. Born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, Capone first got involved with the gangster life at the age of 19 when he worked as a bartender for hitman Frankie Yale, and by the time he was 26, he was running the Chicago-based mafia organization known as the Outfit. Throughout the Prohibition era, Capone was king of Chicago's criminal underworld, ultimately responsible for at least 400 murders, yet was jokingly referred to as the unofficial mayor of Chicago. Capone would eventually become immortalized in the history books by his fierce rivalry with U.S. Treasury agent Elliot Ness and his squad of honest law enforcers that became lovingly known as the Untouchables. Eventually, Capone would be brought down by a conviction for tax evasion. He served 11 years in prison before being released and dying in 1947 at the age of 48 due to dementia brought on by syphilis. Everyone knows Capone as a crime lord, bootlegger, and murderer. But did you know that he was also a victim of bullying from beyond the grave? This particular story began on May 16, 1929, when Capone was arrested in Philadelphia for carrying around a concealed weapon in his car. It was a relatively minor charge compared to the other things he was guilty of, yet Philadelphia Municipal Court Judge John E. Walsh was determined to make that charge stick so he could make an example out of the Chicago kingpin. On August 8th of that year, Capone was sent to Philadelphia's notorious Eastern State Penitentiary to serve his one-year prison term for the weapons charge. While Eastern State was one of the worst prisons in America at the time, Capone's stay was relatively comfortable. Greasing all the right palms, Capone's cell was decorated with artwork, new rugs, comfortable bed sheets, a desk that had a chair in it, and even a radio. He still had access to high-end food, alcohol, cigars, cocaine, and the companionship of beautiful women whenever he wished. But he also had something of an unwanted recurring visitor. Throughout his stay at Eastern State Penitentiary, guards would often report that Capone would suddenly just start shrieking in the middle of the night, and apparently witnessed him having panic conversations with some invisible intruder whom he called Jimmy. More often than not, the conversations would mostly just be Capone screaming at Jimmy in terror to leave him alone, evidently to no avail. The nightly occurrences tormented Capone throughout his entire stay at Eastern State, and according to rumor, they continued even after he left. Some say they continued until his dying day. So who or what was Jimmy, and why was he so hell-bent on torturing one of the most feared gangsters who ever lived? Well, the possible explanation goes back to the final days of a decade-long conflict between Capone's organization, the Outfit, and the Irish-led Northside gang called the Beer Wars. The two sides have been battling each other for a long time, with Capone's mentor, Johnny Torrio, being driven into retirement, and Northside gang leaders Dino Banyan and Jaime Weiss being ushered into an early grave. By 1929, George Bugs Moran was the leader of the Northside gang, and Capone wanted him gone. So it was on the cold morning of February 14, 1929, when four men dressed as police officers walked into the Clark Street garage on Chicago's North Side and brutally cut down 7 high-ranking members of Bugs Moran's gang in a hail of machine gun fire. This event became known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. While it would never be proven in a court of law, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Capone planned and ordered the hit because he had everything to gain from it and was conveniently out of town when it all went down. Now, by an epic stroke of luck, Bugs Moran was able to avoid the massacre, but with the deaths of his top lieutenants, he realized that the Northside gang was history and walked away, leaving Capone as the undisputed winner of the Beer Wars. Now, you may be wondering what the hell the St. Valentine's Day Massacre has to do with Capone's seemingly otherworldly tormentor at Eastern State Penitentiary and beyond. Well, it has everything to do with it, because one of the victims of the St. Valentine's Day Massacre was a man named James Clark, aka Bugs Moran's brother-in-law, bodyguard, and second-in-command, whom everyone called
Jimmy.
So what are we to believe here? Could Jimmy have just been a figment of Al Capone's drug and alcohol-fueled imagination brought on by a long-delayed guilty conscience? Could Jimmy have just been simply a phantom that heralded the forthcoming destruction of Al Capone's mind due to suffering from an untreated illness? Or could Jimmy have actually been the spirit of James Clark who came back from the great beyond to seek revenge against the man responsible for his death? Well, sadly, with no strong evidence to definitively prove any scenario, it all comes down to what you choose to believe. As for me, well, let's just say that karma has a tendency to play the long game and win big every time. If you like this video, please show your support by hitting the like button and sharing it with your friends. If you're curious about my future content and want to hear more creepy stories, then please subscribe to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified when new content is uploaded. Until next time, have a lovely day, stay safe out there, and most importantly,
Stay creepy.